Okay, happy Friday. I appreciate everyone, whether you're joining in person or you're joining later on through a recording. It's been a great week so far. I do realize that I'm running a little bit behind on some of the interaction on the discussion forums and responding if there has been unique questions, but I'm definitely getting onto it today after our meeting now. But thank you for everyone for your patience as we navigate through that. So this week represents the final week when we're really reviewing kind of those general themes that are essential for you to be successful in your A&P classes. So I assume that this week as well, as we've been looking at, I believe, themes like chemistry of life, cells, and genetics is largely familiar to you from what you have completed in your prereq classes. That could have been Bio 100, General Biology, or Bio 156, or whatever other general biology class you have taken in order to prepare you for the A&P series. So earlier this week when we met, we went through in quite a detail the nutshell review of the chapter content. I realize it's a lot of content because we're basically covering 3 chapters in 1 week. But as I mentioned, remember that this is revision of things that you already know. So the purpose of this week is just to ensure that we all end up to the same starting point in terms of our understanding and grasp of this basic biology behind that we will be then building on throughout our course. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to share my screen for you. And since we had our live online session, and I think that it was pretty intensive in terms of the amount of detail that I had on that nutshell review of the lecture material, my plan for today is that we won't actually do a second take on that. If you're interested on a summarized version of the lecture content, you can totally review that recording that's already available and uploaded there, as you can see for you. What I'm instead gonna do today, I'm gonna spend a little bit more time talking about the assignments that we have for this week. And as always, I offer a range of many different kinds of things that you can do. What I normally ask my students to do as a homework is the chapter 2 and chapter 3 quizzes. And I think that those are the ones that we'll be looking today. But remember, you have additional opportunities if you don't prefer to do those quizzes, or if you want to collect those extra credit points, you can definitely engage on our discussion forum. There's some good conversation happening there, and I think I've fired all kinds of questions for this responses and follow-ups on discussions that are taking place. And remember, you can always just share your insights as well if something stands out for you, or if you find great resources, if you have something that was an aha moment. I'm more than certain that your colleagues would appreciate hearing of those. In addition, as always, I do have those want more additional assignments and additional material. Again, neither the discussion forum or the optional study is required per se. It's an optional way for you to learn if that's something that works for you. You'll find again on the want more assignment area a lot of questions. You can answer as many of those or as little of those as you wish, or you can just choose not to do any of those. And then when you've done your responses, you submit them on that assignment activity area underneath. But like I said, what I'm going to do today, I'm going to be focusing on those quizzes, and let's have a look of those. I'm going to stop sharing my screen just for a second so I can move on to a different view for us. And at this time, you should be able to see the chapter 2 quiz. And again, it's 14 questions worth of 10 points. And there's a mix of various kinds of questions. I strongly encourage you to also use your textbook if you're working through these questions and any of them seem challenging. But we're in the first question that we're seeing, we're completing sentences by choosing the correct options from these drop-down menus that you have available. So we can see, for example, the first statement is going to say in a covalent bond, the bond can be either polar or, and then there's a blank. Well, the correct answer to this would be non-polar. Second sentence reads, polar deals with, and then you choose the correct word, of electrons between the atoms. And we saw that the polarity dealt with sharing of the electrons between the atoms. Question 3, each atom can have a slight what? And what we saw on the review of the chemistry, we saw that each atom could have a slight charge that they were dealing with. Next question, question 4, kind of expands on that. We're seeing that these charges dictate how each atom will share, and we're being asked how they or what they share. And we saw it was the electrons on the outer valence shell that we were sharing with the atoms as they were forming molecules. And final sentence here, nonpolar bonds means that there's an equal sharing of electrons. Polar bonds have what type of a sharing? And it's going to be unequal sharing of those electrons. So kind of nice way to review a lot of things, nice way for you to capture the key messages from this chapter by working through these questions. And as always, there's a little explanation summary also available for you. Remember that completing these quizzes is part of the learning activity. It's not assumed that you should know it from day one. They guide your studying as you complete them. Here, what we're seeing on this next question is a drop and drag question, and you are labeling different elements on this image about water molecules. So we're seeing not just one single water molecule, but multiple water molecules interacting with each other. So let's start here at the bottom. We're seeing this molecule made of oxygen and 2 hydrogens, and we're being asked what molecule is it? Well, you would tell that it's a water molecule. Then we're being asked what type of a bond do we have between oxygen and hydrogen here in a single water molecule? And we're going to end up seeing that it's going to be a covalent bond that we have there. Finally, we're being asked what type of bond do we have between different water molecules from one charged end to another charged end, and these would be our hydrogen bonds. Remember, hydrogen bonds were a special type of bond because water is so important for life, so we see that there. So I hope that that helps you to kind of capture what we're looking for on that question. And again, there's a nice little explanation for you to guide you afterwards if you have any questions about that. Moving onwards, with the next question that we're seeing, we're looking at the functional groups, and I do have a nice handout available for you for the functional groups. So then you're classifying where these different functional groups fall in. We're seeing, for example, sugars and alcohols. It would be hydroxyl groups. For proteins, we see amino groups. For fats, oils, and steroids, we see methyl groups. And for nucleic acids, it's going to be our phosphate groups. And finally, for the sugars and proteins, that's going to be our carboxyl groups. So a nice way for you to review some of the big things that we're seeing, some of the themes that we need to discuss about. Continuing forward, the next question asks us to match the chemical elements with their symbols. And let's start from number 1. We see that cobalt is often shorthand written CO, with the C being capital, O being lowercase. A common symbol for the oxygen is going to be O, capital O. For copper, we see Cu, capital C, lowercase u. For carbon, it's going to be C. You'll be seeing a lot of that. And for hydrogen, it's going to be H. So you'll see a lot of carbon and hydrogen in our shorthands when we talk about organic chemistry. You'll see others as well. It is a good idea to get familiar with those, but remember you do have also your periodic table of elements available for you and so on. But more you do these activities, more you work with these materials, more familiar you become also with the language that applies there. I also have some multiple choice questions for you on this week's quizzes. The first question asks, why is carbon especially well suited to serve as the structural foundation of many biological molecules? And we see that out of the options that you're being presented, the most correct option would be that carbon has 4 valence electrons, so it bonds with other atoms that can provide it with 4 more complete to, to complete its valence shell. So we're seeing that that's why carbon is especially versatile atom, and it serves basis of a lot of that organic chemistry that we'll be looking at when we're talking about biology. So a really, really nice way again to focus us on what's important. So next thing that we have here, we have a true false statement, and we are being told a statement that's not correct. In fact, carbon atoms can very readily bond with each other and can form these really long chains and branched molecules and rings. So there's really a lot of this carbon backbone arrangements that can take place in organic chemistry. So this statement would not make sense. It would be false. Moving onwards, I also have a little animation for you to watch first, and then we'll be completing questions about that. We're seeing, for example, that the positively charged subatomic particle was, of course, our proton. Neutrons were neutral and electrons were negatively charged. So a nice way to kind of mix it up that learning process and see all kinds of things there. I have some further questions on this same activity. We have a true-false statement, and the statement claims that the number of electrons in the valence shell determines what type of bonds an atom can form, and that is true. So a nice chance for us to review that. Here, another drag and drop question of matching the chemical symbols and their elements that go with them. C for carbon, Mg for magnesium, Cr for chlorine, Na for sodium, Fe for iron, and K for potassium. So a lot of good stuff there to kind of help us to revisit things that we've seen. We'll also be talking about chemical reactions, and we see that there's many different ways chemical reactions can work and in many different manners. So you'll get to unpack that a little bit. So I hope that that helps you in capturing the big themes of what I want you to get away from quiz for chapter 2. Let's also have a quick look on chapter 3 quiz. Again, similarly to kind of frame our thinking, what we might expect to see in homework. Chapter 3 quiz, 12 questions adding up to 10 points, includes a variety of different kinds of things. So let's revisit those. So here you're doing drag and drop and drag or drag and drop again, and dragging each label into the appropriate box. And we're seeing that we can kind of revisit some of that histology that we talked about before. So squamous tissues would be good examples of those. Those are respiratory membranes. We see columnar tissues in intestinal cells with microvilli, and finally cuboidal within the eccrine sweat secreting glands. So a lot of good stuff, I think, there for you to practice. Notice we also have some distractors there. So some of those don't actually fit into those groups that you're being offered, so they are worthwhile to look past. This next question continues very similarly. You're being asked to look at the shapes of the pictures that you're being shown and classify what types of cells we're seeing there. We're seeing our good old friends columnar, cuboidal, and squamous. You're learning also a little bit more of some of the other ones. And again, remember, use your textbook to guide you. This is a worthwhile activity in that sense. Learning the cells and different cell organelles is sometimes a lot of work. I think that a lot of that will be already familiar for you, but I wanted to give a chance to revise those as well. We're seeing our nucleolus, for example, within the nucleus of the cell. We're seeing our centrosomes that play important role in the cell division process. We're seeing the nuclear envelope around the nucleus. We're seeing also the plasma membrane of these animal cells, and we're seeing both rough endoplasmic reticulum. It was called rough because there were ribosomes on the surface, and then we have smooth endoplasmic reticulum because there are no ribosomes on the surface. So a bunch of things there for us to have a look of. We could continue that. I have a little different way here representing those cell organelles. We're seeing our good old friend nucleolus. You can also see the little nuclear openings in the nuclear envelope. We're seeing again our rough endoplasmic reticulum and smooth endoplasmic ER. We're seeing the Golgi apparatus, or sometimes called Golgi complex. That was the distribution center of the cell, if you wish. So receiving materials, repackaging them, and sending them forward. We're seeing a lysosome there, mitochondria, the organelle that plays important role in the production of ATP, the energy, and we're also seeing our centriole there. So those might be nice ways to revise some of the cell components. I have similarly a diagram here of a cell. We're seeing a different representation of the Golgi apparatus, rough ER and smooth ER, as well as we're seeing the mitochondria. So remember always there's a little bit of artistic representation, so you see some variety in the way these cell organelles are communicated. I also have some questions where I do ask you what is the highlighted organelle. So for example, here you're being asked not just what it is, but this time what is the function of it. And what we're seeing here, we're obviously seeing our Golgi apparatus or Golgi and what we're discussing about that is that it's important in controlling the transport in and out of the cell, modifying elements. So it's really the regulation of transport, modifying the newly synthesized proteins. That would be the most appropriate description out of the ones that you're being offered. Here we have a little different question. We're seeing again a structure. This time it's going to be mitochondria, and we're being asked of its function and the production of ATP as a part of the process of cellular respiration would be the most accurate description. Often mitochondria is described as a powerhouse of the cell. Do keep in mind though that new research has revealed that there's actually other parts of the cell where ATP can be also produced. Not in as great quantities, but it's not the only part. Moving onwards, multiple choice questions were being asked. Mitochondria extract energy from organic compounds and transfer it to which of the following used by the cell? And it was the ATP that they produced. So their mitochondria are the organelles specialized for synthesizing ATP. Let's have a look at a couple of more and then wrap up. We're again given a chance to watch a video and learn a little bit about endo and exocytosis. Here you complete a sentence by choosing the most relevant description. Exocytosis is a process by which cell releases substances from the cell via vesicles. So this vesicular transport process are important for us to consider which way materials are moving and so on. Some further questions here. We're seeing certain white blood cells engulf microorganisms and bring them in to digest them. This process is described as phagocytosis, so cell eating process. Again, your textbook does a really good job of explaining these concepts. I think a lot of them are familiar to you, but you are more than welcome to revisit. And again, some more general questions, branch of biology that investigates cells. That was the field of cytology, so study of cells. So I think that provides us a rather good feel for what to expect when it comes to our homework this week. And like I said, I know it's been a busy couple of first weeks. We've covered a lot of material, but like I said, I think a lot of that material are things that you are already familiar with. So it should make this process relatively easy and painless. Do let me know if there's anything I can do to help you. Next week, we'll actually get to our first system of the body. So it's going to be very exciting times for us to discuss that and learn about that. As always, you're here as part of this class very much to have the access to instructor. It's not an independent study class. I do want to give you that chance that you can look up what you enjoy of and what benefits for you and work at your own timeline. But I'm here to help. I do want you to have that interaction if you benefit from that. So I'll look forward to seeing you at the forums. I look forward to interacting with you through messagings. And as always, we have these live online sessions. I hope you have a very good week, and let me know if there's anything I can do to help. Until next time, bye.